Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here and for staying for the second half. It was really wonderful to listen to everyone's presentations. My name is Jazmín Harvey, and this summer I was working in Ciudad Juárez, Mexico, with a nonprofit called DIA, Derechos Humanos Integrales en Acción, also known as Essential Human Rights in Action. During my time there, I was working with the communications department, documenting the stories of people on the move. DIA's mission is to defend the human rights of people on the move and provide an accompaniment that empowers them to live a happy, safe, and dignified life. Their accompaniment is intersectional, taking into account people's country of origin, race, class, and gender, in order to provide them with individualized care. Juárez is a top destination for migration because of its proximity to the United States and its maquiladora industry. This industry of foreign factories has created both opportunity and corruption in Juárez. Despite the enormous wealth generated by the maquilas, Juárez is a city in ruins, neglected by city government, and controlled by 3 different crime groups. In the last few decades, people have arrived in Juárez in huge numbers, and this has also resulted in a huge amount of xenophobia from the local community. US policies like Remain in Mexico have forced them to wait in makeshift structures along the Rio Grande. And while this is currently shifting, people on the move are still vulnerable to violence. Since the Trump administration changed access to asylum, people are no longer waiting at the border. Instead, they're living in the city and have become a source of income for crime groups who systematically kidnap and extort them. The first person whose story I filmed was a young indigenous man from Oaxaca who was forcibly displaced from by the lack of economic opportunity back home. I met him while he was staying at a safe house provided by DIA. He had been kidnapped, tortured, and extorted, but miraculously managed to escape. When I met him, I was surprised by how lighthearted he was, how proud he was to have escaped, and how excited he was to see his family. His social worker and I accompanied him back to Oaxaca. This is a shot of the mangoes that were growing outside of his house. He talked a lot about how the mangoes in Juárez were so small, so dry, and so expensive, and how the mangoes in Oaxaca were juicy, delicious, and grew for free. While I was there, I also documented a new program called Pan y Esperanza, which provided families with 1,000 pesos for groceries. This is a photo of Ada, who is from Guatemala and recently moved out of the shelter and is now renting a house in Juárez. In the past, DIA found people to assist at shelters. However, since the hardening of the border, people are no longer arriving and the shelters are empty. The border is quiet and the makeshift structures along the Rio Grande are a thing of the past. Still, those people didn't disappear. They're in the city. So this program was designed to find people who left the shelters and who don't know about DIA and who could really use their services. I also taught a filmmaking workshop to their youth program, which is designed to curb circuit trafficking. Circuit trafficking is where cartels forcibly recruit youth growing up along the border in order to traffic drugs across the border. The idea behind this workshop was to expose the students to cultural spaces in Ciudad Juárez. To this end, I organized a mask-making workshop with a local collective called Chingaderas, and each student created a character, which we then filmed. We then filmed their shorts at Azul Arena, a local art gallery, and presented their films at the University of Ciudad Juárez, where we invited their families to celebrate the work that they had done. The International Human Rights Framework gives DIA a lot of power and legitimacy in dealing with the local government and police in Juárez, who would otherwise ignore them. They also receive funding from the UN Refugee Agency, although this funding has been drastically cut. However, a disadvantage of using the International Human Rights Framework is that it creates a disconnect from more local movements, such as the right to the city. Spaces like Edificio de los Sueños are actively taking back deserted and dangerous parts of Juárez and turning them into cultural and community spaces. DIA practices the right to the city by hosting soccer games. It's a way for them to team build, but it's also a way for them to simply enjoy their city. Like many Juarenses, people on the move do not have a right to the city. Many are too scared to go out, and their life is confined to home and work. I feel the right to the city is an important framework because they are no longer on the move. They are locals, yet they lack support networks. A right of the city framework would change the way migrants experience Juarez by focusing on community building and friendship. And friendship is vitally important. This is Evelyn, someone I met through Pani Esperanza, and who I am currently making a documentary about. She moved out of the shelter with Ada, the woman from Guatemala that we saw a few slides ago. She was able to move because she and Ada became friends. They met at the shelter and supported each other with childcare. Because of that childcare, Evelyn was able to go to work and make friends with a group of Mexican women who told her where there was a house that she could rent. Being in this new house, she feels safer. Her kids can play. This is them with their dog, and they can actually have a family life. This is her cutting her son's hair, getting him ready for starting school in Juarez. When I met Evelyn, she was happy because she finally felt a sense of stability. And in the end, I think that's all we really want. We all want to feel safe, secure, and at peace. I hope that organizations like DIA can continue to do their work, receive funding, and that the documentaries I made over the summer can play a small part in changing perceptions of people on the move. Thank you.